A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you all, and I am so pleased to be able to welcome Dr. Anthony de Pontes. Nice to see you, Anthony. How are you?
Good morning, Mary. I'm ripe and ready to go.
We were just having a little discussion, Anthony, weren't we? Let's just tell everybody, because it's really exciting times for us both at the moment, isn't it? Because I've moved to a very small island, and you are just about to move to a completely different area in South Africa.
It's to the sea. It's like it's like a combination of everything and dreams all coming together. So it's very exciting. Maybe, if I'm really honest, like a little bit scary, but everything's looking good and looking forward. So we're going for it, and it's a change of life. It's like living life to the full instead of just existing or just like work. The story of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So
I think we both have that syndrome, don't we, where you had a very, very busy clinic and doing lots of different things. And I was the same and working an awful lot. And just actually, for the perfect life means having more social time, doing the things that we enjoy, being in the places we want to be. And that is part of health, isn't it?
Absolutely. Actually, now that you put it that way, Mary, you're going to see part of this presentation. It talks exactly about that from an angle. And I wonder if the listeners will catch that.
Okay, brilliant. Let's have a look. So today we're going to talk about autoimmunity.
That's it, autoimmunity. So it can be from a general perspective or specifics. And if we talk about autoimmunity, we're talking about auto, which is automatic. Immunity. So your body is suffering with an autoimmune disease, which means the body is attacking itself. Now that sounds weird. I mean, let me demonstrate it in a very graphic way. You and I are sitting here talking together, and I start punching myself. Okay, like you think, hey, this guy's crazy. You know what I mean? And literally, that's what it is. My body is crazy. You wouldn't attack yourself like that, but this is what's happening in an autoimmune disease. Your immune system, which is there to deal with foreign pathogens, maybe chemicals, toxicities, and get rid of that, is now attacking your own body. It's attacking yourself. So that's where we get that crazy part. And no normal person would do that. So something has gone awry, something has gone wrong, and the body is responding, can I say, inappropriately.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this more and more, don't we? I mean, aren't there just a whole lot more autoimmune diseases now than ever before? It seems to be spreading. It seems to be growing.
Absolutely. Can you believe it? There's 80 autoimmune diseases that they have determined. And these are stats from the States, 24 million people suffering with that. And it's increasing at about 12% year on year. But, Mary, whenever we do these things, I feel like almost a bit of a hypocrite when I'll introduce a topic and I'll say it's reached epidemic proportions. All disease processes are now reaching epidemic proportions. And we're talking about chronic disease. Us as homeopaths, we are quite at home dealing with chronic disease. And all of these processes are just exploding because the body's not coping. You're doing this crazy thing. You're attacking yourself. But 80 different autoimmune diseases, if we talk about it, we say that the body's immune system is attacking itself. The T cells are attacking its own tissues.
Okay.
So that happens through a process of what they call molecular mimicry. The body doesn't mean to do it, but it mistakes it for a foreign pathogen. Okay. So I'm looking down the road and I see someone there that looks like Mary, and I start shouting, "Hey, Mary, hello, hello." But it's not you. It's just someone that looks like you. That's what's happening in the body. It sees this foreign protein, or what it seems to be like a foreign protein, and it says, "No, that's got to go." But actually, it's your thyroid gland, and that would be seen as a autoimmune thyroiditis. Or it sees part of a joint, and it attacks that, and that is rheumatoid arthritis, or diabetes 1, or we can say psoriasis, which is attacking the skin. So you get different types. You get organ specific, like I've just explained there. They attack a specific organ, and then you get organ non-specific, or what we call systemic, and that would be like a systemic lupus or a scleroderma, where it attacks a few organ systems at once, with this mentality of the body attacking the wrong. Okay.
Attacking itself. So just to qualify what you're saying, that despite us having all these medicines and healthcare things and everything going on, it seems that our bodies are changing and our bodies are suffering and attacking themselves because they think that there are pathogens in the body, and actually it's not, it's attacking itself.
Correct. So if I take that a bit further, and we look at, now I'm talking from the medical perspective, right? The medical perspective, and they are brilliant at finding these things out. But they will say, well, listen, causative factors for autoimmunity, definitely probably a genetic tendency. So your mother has got an autoimmune problem, or your grandfather, or something like that, and it comes down to you. But what we know about genetics now is genetics is maybe 5% of the issue. It's the epigenetic issue, which means you and I might have a genetic issue, but it presents in you and it doesn't present in me because my environmental exposure is great. So, like we said, we are changing our lifestyles so that we are not exposed to just work, and maybe too little sleep and excess stress. That is the epigenetic part. So what are we saying? We're saying to our genes, the good genes, the genes that are protecting us, can stay there and carry on doing their work, as opposed to being exposed to all the inflammation or no sleep, which turns the genes on that cause the inflammation or causes autoimmune disease. So that's one aspect. So you want to make sure that your environment is good, and that is getting more and more difficult today. If we look at the toxic load, if we look at the hormone imbalance, if we look at all of these things, very difficult even for the layperson to manage, because you go to the store and you buy that food, and marketing is so good, healthy or natural, but that doesn't mean anything these days. So we look at that. We can look at sorry, for the female gender, they are 78% more prone to getting autoimmune disease. If you are overweight or obese, I think it is 72% more tendency. These are the adipose tissue is actually endocrine tissue. It releases a whole lot of hormones, and it releases something called adipokinin, which stimulates low-grade inflammation. So if we take it back, everything is based around inflammation. And when we look at how the medical fraternity treats it, they go anti-inflammation. So I'm going to give you an anti-inflammatory, okay? Or I'm going to give you a cortisone, or I'm going to give you a painkiller, something to that effect, all right? So maybe in your rational mind, you say, oh, great. And sometimes, let's face it, Mary, you need it. Oh, I'm in such pain. I just need a bit of relief right now, okay? But they are looking at the symptom, which is the inflammation, and they're squashing that there, but they're not dealing with the causative factor. So the body, that's how the body goes into this state of going crazy.
Okay, so let's just go over that one more time then. So what you're saying is the changes of our environment, obviously our food and the toxins in every aspect of where we live, and what's happening, as well as probably medications that we're given, medications that are used to fight inflation or fight certain diagnoses, is not necessarily great for our immunity. And there are certain aspects of our body that start to fight and think that that part of our body is something that shouldn't be there. So that's why our immunity is attacking it.
Gosh, you put it so well. That's in a nutshell. That's great. Obviously, you can expand on it at infinitum, but there's a good précis of what is happening. And I've kind of left out what I would call one of the biggest causes, and that is the emotional cause. If we look at our bodies, here's a physical body, but I've got a mental body. I can think. I've got an emotional body. I can get sad or happy or angry or whatever it is. And then there's the spiritual body, and that is basically who I am, right? So you have to look at those aspects as well. And if I can just tell you the story of how this came about, how I came to delve into this, and
yes.
You being a homeopath, they put a lot of emphasis on the emotional aspect. So obviously, or you might be saying, well, obviously you knew that. What extra have you learned now? Well, if I look at that, I was thrown into the deep end with getting into, I actually specialized in thyroid disease and autoimmune thyroiditis. And so if you don't sink, you got to swim. So start exploring, researching, etc. And I started from the medical aspect of what is the deficiencies that the person might have, what is the toxicity. So they might have mercury, they might have infections, Epstein-Barr virus, these type of things, and dealing with that for the patient. And yes, the patient would get better. Okay, that the toxic load would reduce, the immune system would be able to respond a little bit better. But I think us as homeopaths, we are very focused on curing that patient. We are not happy just to say, oh, I'm feeling a little bit better. All right. Yeah. So further in with that, I'm having a look and using the homeopathic remedies. I'd find that there were a lot of emotional symptoms that would be remaining there, the anxieties or the depressions. And I'm like, hey, but I've looked at all of this, and yes, they've improved, but we're not getting clear of that.
Yes.
And dealing more in, and so what's my first love? Homeopathy. So you go into the homeopathic remedies, and there are trends of certain remedies with certain autoimmune conditions, right? So we also look at the miasmic aspect, and that kicks back to what we were talking about with the genetic tendencies. And then I fell on to using mega homeopathy, those very high potencies, and that worked so brilliantly well. But now in my head, I can see progress, but if you would ask me, okay, so exactly what are you doing? I'd go like, well, and I'd bumble along and try to explain it to you. The patient would kind of know what's happening because they're experiencing the changes, but I couldn't put it into a really nice, succinct way of explaining it. And I was doing more research, and then thank goodness for a researcher called Stephen Pontes. He developed what's called the Polyvagal theory, right? Now, the part I haven't shared with you is we've looked at all the causative aspects, but something that would keep coming up would be that this autoimmune dysregulation would come up. The patient could not regulate their autoimmune system properly, which would mean they are most of the time always in this fight or flight mode. Okay, they're very irritable, they are shouting and screaming, or they have shut down, they just are in shock. The autonomic nervous system's got the sympathetic aspect, which is your fight or flight. Okay, you react because you are in survival mode. And it's got the other aspect, which is the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. And here's a very important part. You have to be in that parasympathetic to heal. Okay, so that's why we say sleep is so important, because theoretically, if you go to sleep, you're going to heal, but you can go to sleep or a light sleep and you're not getting into that parasympathetic mode, and you are still in this sympathetic state. And this is what's happening with more and more people today. Because why? Because it's push, push, push. Oh, I've got to work just an extra hour. My nutrition is down. I've got extra stress. So your body is trying to help you and trying to stay in that fight or flight mode. Let's keep going. That type of thing.
Yes.
So you get autonomic dysregulation. And that is what was stopping these people from healing. Now, I went more and more into this, and this Stephen Porges and the polyvagal theory of the autonomic nervous system. And if you go into the medical literature, they talk quite well and quite in depth about the autonomic nervous system being the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. But what Stephen Porges did is he brought in what they would call the lifestyle aspect, or I could call it the safety aspect. Okay, so what they say is, from what I also told you, is this autonomic nervous system is keeping you safe, right? But now what happens if you're always in this fight or flight, right? Yes, you are not dead because you dodged the bullet or whatever, but you're not in a state where, hey, I'm sitting here enjoying my conversation with Mary, I'm in this fight or flight mode. Okay, what you going to ask me? Am I not going to be being able to answer properly? These type of things. So he spoke about the body being in a safe space. And when it's in the safe space, it's able to drop its way of functioning and open up a bit. Now, how do you do that? To feel safe. As I'm sitting here, Mary smiles at me. I'm like, okay, this is not such a threatening situation. She's walking slowly towards me. Oh, this is encouraging, and I can drop it and I can feel safe. All right. So if you look at, say, if you're going to be disciplined, the principal might come up to you and very stern, your body goes into that fight or flight mode, and it's not feeling safe. All right. So with this polyvagal theory, he talks about three aspects. And the first aspect is called the ventral vagal complex. And it's all about the vagus nerve, which is actually mostly the parasympathetic aspect, which is the rest and digest, right? And in this ventral vagal aspect, it's the vagal nerve, which is focusing on the face, which is the eyes. Okay, I can see Mary is smiling at me. Okay? Or I hear that lovely voice that someone is talking. It's calming me down. Okay, or I talk, these type of things. So that's the ventral vagal complex, and you're starting to feel safe with that. Also, if you look at how parents or mother is interacting with their child, just exactly what I said, the child is feeling safe. How mothers will coo at their child and touch the child. This is all simulation of the ventral vagal complex. Okay, hey, I'm feeling safe, and the body takes appropriate action. It opens up, it releases or reduces its protective mechanism because I'm in a safe environment. Okay, now they used an example of now you're in this ventral vagal complex, everything is good, but now there's some type of threat or problem, and I call out, hey, Mary, help me here, right? I'm a social person. I call out to my network or the people around me, and they're going to help me. I'm still in that ventral vagal complex. But now, what happens if Mary's not there or no one's here to help? That's when I shoot into this fight or flight. Okay, I've got to try and make a plan. And the physiology changes. You get the cortisol, you get the adrenaline, everything goes to the muscles. I've got to run away, something like that. Right? Now, here's the thing. If that doesn't work, no one's come to my rescue, I can't run, whatever it is, your body goes into the dorsal vagal complex. That is what they talk about when they say the immobilization, okay? I've been pinned down, or I'm being traumatized, I'm being tortured, something like that. Your body goes into the state of being in limbo. It shuts down the vagus nerve from below the diaphragm to the kidneys to the intestine. That's what works here. And you don't feel pain. It's like you've just gone to limbo. Often you find people are in a traumatic situation, they just faint.
Yes.
That's going into the vagal complex, right? So now I'm looking at all this, and the light goes on in my head. This is how I'm explaining what the patients are experiencing. Okay,
Yes.
so, and now I'm bringing in the homeopathic remedies. It makes it so much easier. So, for example, that person that faints or is just lying there like in a trance, okay, that is so typical of the remedy opium. Can
Yes,
you
of
see?
course.
So you can revive that autonomic nervous system, and by doing that, they are able to heal because you've taken them out of that fight or flight, and they can heal. Now, here's also a very exciting thing for me. It's not just autoimmune conditions. I've had a few patients recently who've been suffering with POTS and PANDAS, and that is a condition basically that has this autonomic dysfunction. These people just lie there, they can't function, or I'm dizzy, or I've got anxiety or I'm depressed. That is this state that they are in the dorsal vagal complex.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So now we can use homeopathy and physiology by stimulating the appropriate neurochemical or hormone to get them out of that. Okay. And I'm not at all discounting what I call it traditional homeopathy, where you find this a minimum. Absolutely. Go for it. Combined with maybe certain functional medicine aspects, they've got deficiencies of magnesium or vitamin D or whatever it is. Changing those lifestyle factors to help them to be able to stand up and for their body to respond, I can't say appropriately, because if they go into that fight or flight or the rest and digest, that is appropriate for them. Okay. But what if you can get their body to feel safe so that they can come out of that? Because when you've had lots of trauma, and this is what I'm finding with a lot of these patients with the autoimmune disease, remember, most of them are female, they won't come out and say, well, I've had lots of trauma. But you find going through the cases and getting closer to them, they start to reveal certain really personal things. You get a lot of abuse, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of even just where they just have felt not worthy enough or not able enough to do things. And they go into this, either the dorsal ventral complex or the fight or flight, and they can't get out of it.
It's
and
really interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking about the Peter Levine talks about fight, flight or freeze mode, which is exactly what you're saying, and to recognize that, and that just made me think about the fact of overwhelm, which shuts down your system to be able to not make a decision and be able to not go forward. And that we're seeing so much as well, aren't we? So like you said, every aspect of how people are reacting or not reacting in their lives and their relationships all stems from, as you said, inherited, only 5%, but how you then, what has been traumatizing for you, and it might have been something that other people might just brush off and not be huge, but it might be how you felt when somebody said something or somebody did something, how that makes you feel and how you react. That is the cornerstone of your body acting this way. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So now they talk further. So remember, I was talking about the safety aspect, and I was all, and I believe this is right still, but this Stephen Pontes added this extra aspect to it. So I'll say, take a typical Nux farm. Oh, he's got a lot of anger there, or Staphysaga, there's suppressed anger there. So we're working on that emotion, right? So if we look at the hierarchy of the organs or the body, you've got the physical here, and then you might have the emotional further up. Okay, so that's where we're talking, the suppressed anger or the disappointment or the sadness, whatever. So Pontes is saying that you've got to look at the somatic function in the body. Somatic just means body. So, okay, my liver, the skin, the weight that I feel on my chest. So when I say to you, okay, Mary, you are moving house now, maybe you get a heaviness in the chest. Okay, maybe there's a bit of reluctance or something like that. Okay, so he talks about changing the feeling, but when you are traumatized, you're numb, you can't feel. So you've got to make them aware. So this is what I do with the patients. I'll prescribe the appropriate homeopathic remedy, but I'm interacting with them and I'm saying, okay, so when that happens, okay, what's going on? No, I don't know. but you get them to get into it, start to become conscious of feeling, oh yes, my chest is heavy, or I have got this panicky feeling, or whatever it is. So you help them with that, and you do that. You can do breathing exercise, whatever it is, and the homeopathic remedy. And so what I've been finding then is that I'm starting to get patients that are healing fully from these autoimmune conditions. And according to the medical fraternity, you can't heal from it.
No, it's something that your body does, and there's nothing that can heal. But what you're saying is, by looking at all of the different aspects and addressing all of those different aspects, you can see a complete change around.
Absolutely. And, when you have been traumatized, remember we were talking about that dorsal ventral complex where you are just lying like motionless, or you have withdrawn or dissociated. That can be very difficult to come back in. It's like I've been traumatized, I'm numb from it, I can't feel. But to get the person to start feeling, and this is where you start feeling on the somatic aspect, and then it goes up into the emotional. And I believe the homeopathy is a push to speed that up, to release that block, that trauma, that numbness. And it seems to be working really, really well. So I'm very excited about that.
Absolutely. So can you just name a few of the autoimmune diagnosis that people come to you with?
Okay. So, well, typically, and that's what I specialize in, but, I want to say this to you, and maybe you'll only really get it if you are a homeopath, but I want to try and explain it a bit more. An autoimmune condition is an autoimmune condition.
Yes.
Okay. Now, whether it is, let me go back. Let's just use something that is a bit easier to understand. Eczema, Mary. Eczema, you've got eczema on your face, or you've got eczema on your hand, or you've got eczema on your back. Okay. You're going to treat it homeopathically. You're going to treat the eczema. It doesn't matter where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So for most of that, it's very similar with autoimmune disease. So if I say to you, you've got autoimmune disease of the skin, you've got psoriasis. You're going to treat the symptoms in homeopathy, psoriasis. Probably the arsenicums, that type of thing, the seranums. Oh, I said, Mary, you've got rheumatoid arthritis. That is autoimmunity in the joints. Okay, you might do the brownie or those toxins. But where I will look differently is I'm looking for the causative factor there. Okay, it's not just the skin is dry or the joint is sore. We're looking, okay, they've got a toxicity there. And this is where I bring in the functional medicine. They've got a toxicity because they had cortisone injections. That is looking at the aspect where the drugs are affecting it. You see what I'm saying? Or no, they had mercury fillings, and the mercury has intoxicated the nervous system. So that's how I try and put it together. Now, I don't want to mislead you in any way. It's not a process where in 1 month I'm free of my autoimmunity. Remember, you're changing so many different aspects of your life, of your body. Okay, to change those emotions is huge. Let's say you have a huge disgust for person ABC, right? I said to you, Mary, don't be ridiculous. Just, forgive him and move on. Lots of people have got lots of issues with it. I can't, because that happened, and using homeopathic remedy, helping them to work through it, then that changes, then the body can start feeling again, and then the appropriate neurochemical can start flowing again, and the body's back to, what can I say, health and vitality. And if I'm talking homeopathically speaking, we're talking about the defense mechanism, the vital force. It's able to ramp up.
Yes, of course. So just to confirm what you're actually saying there then is that we're looking at helping you move through trauma, helping you see it in a different way, helping you move on, going through, so that you're releasing the energy in order for your hormones levels to balance more, and relieve. So every aspect of your whole being changes with these homeopathic medicines, and you're integrating homeopathy with some other functional medicine
Testing. Oh, okay. You've got mercury toxicity. It can be I try and use natural supplementation as well. So whether it be a magnesium, whether it be a herbal, or using that as well. But I just want to say, I'll start on the very low level of the regular treatment protocols, looking for the causation. Okay, so like we said, the mercury toxicity or the infection. And once you've worked with that, the patient does feel better. But if they do the lab test and they see, oh, I've still got the antibodies, okay, I'm still not healed. No. And here, I tried to disprove this hypothesis, but I couldn't. Every single case, and I'm talking more specifically about the thyroid autoimmunity, but I don't see any reason why it can't be for the others as well. Every single case, they have got some emotional block or some emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Clear that for the body to say, oh, yes, I can accept my healing.
I can let it happen. I don't need to be in that fight or flight mode.
Yes, exactly.
Anthony, just tell me, obviously, I mean, we both work with homeopathy. We both see a lot of clients. And what I love about homeopathy and this process of evolving, going back through the health history and talking and finding out what other people are doing and what helps them, is that we learn so much more from our patients. By seeing our patients, by having the opportunity to talk a lot more than in other areas of medicine, it helps us understand what else is happening as well.
You hit the nail on the head there. A bit earlier I said, so I've got this problem where I'm seeing things unfold, but I don't know how to explain it. And then I went to do more research with Stephen Pontes. But this is what was happening with the patients, okay? They would get to that point and they wouldn't heal any further. And I was struggling. I was spinning my wheels with the homeopathic remedies, okay? Until, like you say, you're talking more to them and you're seeing, well, every patient is having this type of thing happen, maybe in different formats, but that's what's happening. And then you change your potency or you change your approach as you learn, as you, start to master the function of what's going down.
Yes, and relationships.
Yes, I was actually very frustrated because I couldn't put it into words what was happening. And then, I came across the Stephen Porges and it just all started to make sense and started to flow again. So
yeah, excellent. It's just brilliant. What I love is that we never stop learning, do we? There's always something else that helps explain to us and joins the dots, if you like, but also then gives us an analogy that we can use to help other people understand exactly what's happening, whereas perhaps they've not been able to find that research themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And I must say that the patients are so helpful. They help me to learn.
Yeah.
And I was talking to an acupuncture colleague of mine today. And there was a few issues with the college, and they were clamping down on everything. And I said to her, I learn the most from everything when I'm out of the college and I'm seeing the patients. That's where
that's where the learning takes place.
Yes, you are in deep water, and you got to make things work with a patient, and you're going to do research or whatever. That's clinical practice, really.
Yes. Right. Oh, just absolutely fascinating, Anthony. So lovely to talk to you about this. We could talk all day, couldn't we? Because there are so many different aspects to bring in there. But the main thing that we've talked about today really is that although these diagnoses are growing, we are learning so much more about actually addressing the cause of it and the remedies that are needed to do that.
So Mary, it's getting the patient to become more aware of actually who they are.
Yeah.
And I hope this doesn't sound too esoteric in a way, but it's like getting them to feel safe in their body and to live their life. It's very important to be in the present. Okay? When you're in the present, everything can flow smoothly. It's when you are stuck back in the past with that trauma and not forgiving and not working through that's your body stops. You are in that zone. So helping the patient, and so many people today are stuck like that. Take a glaring example. With COVID, it was the end of the world. humans are social beings. You have to interact. There was a study done on retirees, and the thing that made people live the longest was social interaction. I think they took two groups. One group,
Yes.
as you get older, they kept them like very isolated, and the other group was interacting and doing things, and they lived much longer. They had the interactions. I mean, just from a physiological perspective, it keeps the hormones running, everything going well. You age better. So we are social beings. We need to, and because of a lot of the trauma, we like, oh no, I can't go there. I can't do that because of those fears and those concerns. So you've got to push through, and you've got to overcome that. And there's no reason why you can't live a happy, healthy life. Get your body's defense mechanism and vital force back up there.
Yeah. So we are talking about completely turning around and completely going forward into a much, much healthier future.
Absolutely. It was great chatting. We're going to talk again. We'll do some more.
Okay. Brilliant. I was going to ask, I hope you will come back and we'll go through this further, because we can go really into some depth, and specifics about how people actually feel and how we can find a remedy from that as well. So lots more to talk about. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great stuff, Mary. Go well.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for coming in and talking to us about autoimmunity. It is such a huge topic and something that we all need to be understanding a lot more deeply. I do hope you've enjoyed this episode this week. It has been a great pleasure to talk to Dr. Anthony Pontes. Now, next week, we're actually going to be doing a rerun of Homeopathy Helping Dairy Intolerance and Allergies. And this is with Anjum Ramatula, who is one of our homeopaths in Homeopathy 24/7. And it actually was our second podcast. So we're going right back to the beginning and just showing you a little bit about how homeopathy can help with dairy intolerance. Another huge topic. So I look forward to seeing you next week when we can have a look at homeopathy with dairy intolerance and allergies. I do hope you've enjoyed these episodes, and I do hope you can subscribe to our channels. Now, there are various ways for you to listen to our podcast or watch it on video on YouTube. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, please do subscribe and please do leave us a review. If you leave us a review on these platforms, then more people will see our podcast. We just want more people to share the joy of homeopathy. It's a choice that everybody should know about. Please do everything you can to help us help more people.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.